backwards, facing backwards. And there we go.
Oh, and they won't be able to hear us properly. Know what I mean?
We can go back, I think, and edit it to live, but we'll see. All right. So we're live now. We're going to see how well this picks up our voice and go from there. So if you're just joining us or you're just tuning in, I'm Joe and this is Megan, and we're Archery Northwest. I want to tell you a little bit about us and where it all came from. So the Archery Northwest, we just rebranded from our YouTube channel. That was our business, which is Archery World, a few months ago. So we did that in hopes to try to grow the knowledge and the response of the customers in the whole entire Northwest to know where their local pro shops are, to support them, to go in and to enjoy the sport of archery, to get that expert knowledge. So we're pretty biased for pro shops, for sure. And it doesn't matter if you live in Oregon or Washington or Idaho, you're going to have a shop that's not very far from you that's going to be able to support what you're looking for, hopefully. And we were talking about this just a few minutes ago. One of the things that has been a struggle for any shop owner that's a proprietary business owner or S Corp or LLC, they're trying to run the business and trying to help everyone that's coming through the door and gain the knowledge they need to stay above everything else in the industry so they can be the experts. So when do they have time to stand in front of a camera? And
It's,
yeah,
I mean, it's rare.
right. We've had a shop for going on 25 years now. We've actually got 4 locations in Oregon and Washington. 1 is in Oregon and 3 are in Washington. And we can't hardly do it ourselves, and we have staff that helps. We're just now in a position where we're thinking, how can we keep this sport alive, grow it for the next generation, show all the different content of the different ranges and the different clubs and the different pro shops in the area, and celebrate them and get you guys into their locations. So it's been something that we've been thinking about for more than a decade. And we just have not been able to pull the time aside to do it and run the business correctly.
Sure.
Not like an influencer where their job is to wake up, film, edit, post, and go back about their business. So we're just not that, and we don't want to be that.
The work that we are doing is hopefully employing and providing, quality of life for, 15 employees, in addition to ourselves. So it's not a selfish thing that we're doing by any means. We are really, I think it's taken us this long primarily so that we could, look after our employees first and foremost, and then.
Right. It's just like, we're not trying to keep any industry secrets by not posting videos. We just haven't had the time to do it. So now that we can do that, here's our vision. We want to, throughout Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, go from shop to shop, from club to club, as much as we can possibly do over the next few years, and just celebrate them. And in the meantime, we want to do a ton of reviews, but different than an influencer, and let me explain that. We're not sponsored. We buy product from the manufacturers, and then we resell that product, and we hope that the margins that we make can pay for our overhead and our employees to have everyone have a good lifestyle and a sport that they love and a job that they love. That being said, since we're not influencers per se, we still have shops, and since we have brick and mortar locations, we carry 10 lines of bows. We can pull out 10 lines of bows, 8 lines of bows are the most popular, and we can test them under a certain condition. We just did a video that tested we dubbed it the fastest bows of 2024, which can't include the entire industry, but it included what we stock on the most popular things that have been selling up until that point.
For sure.
It started out with a desire to find out what a person wanted to shoot, so they're test firing a bunch of bows set up in the same configuration, and then we're like, well, that was pretty surprising, so let's do it again. Now we're going to do the same thing with sights next, with slider sights. It's a classic Northwest and a classic west of the Rockies sight that you'll see on a lot of bows out here, because the ranges that you shoot are longer. There's a lot of tack shoots and a lot of mountain challenges that take you out there if you just shoot for fun.
Right.
You can shoot 120 yards at a foam animal, but if you're shooting for hunting, you may take a mule deer shot that's a 60, 70 yard shot, so you have to be able to have a bow that's going to provide the most accuracy you can.
For sure.
So we want to be able to provide all that information for you, highlighting the shops, telling you who's here locally in this area and that area, wherever we go, and then grow it that way. And at the same time, we want to test products, but not to tell you this is what you should buy because I've got a contract that says I should say so.
Exactly.
I don't have a contract that says you should buy it, whatever. So that's the question I'll tell you to pose to your influencers out there. Ask them when their contract's up and what contracts they're currently under, and see if you get response. And then they'll say, oh, I shoot it because I love it. But 2 years later, they'll be shooting something else because that contract runs out and the industry's not going to pay more for them, so they'll move on to the next person. Now, in some respects, that needed to happen while there's a void,
Sure.
And at least in the Northwest, we're going to close that void by having the pro shops. We're going to go from shop to shop and have them do videos that they don't have time or the equipment for, and then help them put their own videos out that they think their customer base wants to see and know too, which will probably benefit you as well. So Megan, I know we're talking about Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, but we also cover as many tournaments as we can, and we're just getting ready to do our mobile pro shop, get it on the road. Where are we headed?
Well, the first stop you're having the opportunity to shoot at Break the Barriers, so the BTB there in Fresno. We won't have our mobile shop set up there this year.
Not this year. We need to see if it fits. We don't know if it's going to fit or not.
It sounds like it may or may not, so we're going to just kind of scope it out, and you'll have the opportunity to shoot it, which I know that's something that you've been looking forward to doing for a while. And then following that, we're going to hit up the Fresno Safari, where we will have our trailer set up, so people can come and purchase any last minute supplies that they may need, bow pods, umbrellas, knocks, whatever.
Who knows what the weather's going to be
what
like.
did you forget? You know, it's that thing that you have 20 of them at home, and now you have 21 because you forgot to bring it.
Right.
And then following Fresno, we will head up to Redding and set up for the marked 3D national tournament there in Redding.
And we're going to try to post up some videos and some interviews and some pictures each night. And on the finals, if everything works the way we hope, we're going to go live on the finals for that 88-yard elk scene when they start pulling up all those team events and all the ties that are out there that have to be settled at the end of the weekend. So stay tuned for that. So we hope that even though it's California, we call it kind of Northern California, so we're counting that as part of Archery Northwest because we're able to still get to those shoots. And
I think part of it is what you'll see is we may focus a lot on the shooters from the Northwest.
Sure.
You know, I mean, we may get interviews from, some other pros that aren't from the Northwest, but I think, we would love to highlight, some of those either pro shooters that are out of the Northwest, like, Bill Drake or Bodie Turner,
Rio's and Pocatello,
who's back on the scene,
and he's starting to dominate already. So he's giving Bill a great run for his money.
So and then as well as the amateur shooters that are there ready to have a good time, that this is their big shoot of the year that they look forward to, and we want to highlight those shooters as well, because in my opinion, I'll never be a professional shooter, but it doesn't mean I don't love doing it. And those people want to see themselves get interviewed just as well as the next guy. So
that's what it's all about to us. I mean, we love the sport. Believe me, as now that we've grown this to 4 locations, we say this often as a joke because we wouldn't do it, but on a serious note, it would be much more profitable for us to sell all of our shops and buy 6 convenience stores and make a ton more money. We just ethically, we don't necessarily agree with some of the things that keep those stores going, you know. So we love what we love, and it's archery. So we would rather be happy and poor than sad and rich. So
Yeah, and I mean, we are fortunate that I would never say that we're poor,
no,
but we
just an
don't,
example.
but we certainly, you're right, we could do things in our lives that we could make a lot more money than what pro shops make. And any pro shop owner knows you're
Yeah.
not in it for the money. It's just like a school teacher. I used to be a school teacher, and it was the same thing. I mean, you're not in it for the money, you're in it because of the passion of doing that. And I think that's pretty much every pro shop owner would say. They're not necessarily in it for the money, because there's a lot more things that they could do to make a lot more money.
For sure.
But they have a passion and an enjoyment for the sport of archery.
That's a good point. Now, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about the industry, some of the things that we love about it, and then let's go into some of the things we'd like to see change, you know. So, and I've got a big list for things I want to see change. I've always had it, you know. My background, if you didn't know it, I was in the Marine Corps for 17 years as well. So I'm a pretty direct speaker, so it doesn't take much to get you to know what I'm thinking. So if you talk to me long enough, I'll definitely share those thoughts with you. My reps hate it because I'm hard on them. The manufacturers sometimes don't like it. So we have never built this buddy rapport that some of the shops do because they get a free bow every year. We stopped that decades ago because we wanted just fair play and fair business and professional business practices, and we can maintain that, but we don't get any special favors or gratitude because of that. Matter of fact, compared to some of the smaller shops around, we get a lot less, and it's probably because of me, to be honest. I mean, if I'm got a heartburn with somebody, I'll tell them, or the way that things are going, I'll tell them, and I don't know that benefits us in that way, but it does benefit the industry over time. And when I'm upset about something, I'm usually speaking for our customers, the complaints I've heard or the complaints I've seen, and the things that could be changed that would make a customer's experience better. Yeah. So I'm always going to do that, and I guess it's just in my nature.
Right.
So things you love in the industry. Tell me some of the things that you love.
Well, first and foremost for me, I guess, is the people, and that's something I've just always been super impressed with. Since I'll be honest, in 2007, when I met Joe and he told me he owned an archery shop, I'll be honest, I did not know people still shot bows. So I have come a long way since then, but something I knew from the very first time I came into the shop and started meeting his customers and started shooting, at leagues and so forth, was just the quality of person that archers are. And for the most part, every industry you're going to have a bad apple, every once in a while, but they're just such good people that I've come in contact with over the last, 16 years. And it just is fun to get out. And you see everything from, people who shoot their bows 40 hours a week, it seems like, and they still have full-time jobs 40 hours a week. And then you've got those people who, they just shoot their bow from, July to September for the hunt. But all of them, different walks of life, different, but just genuine people. And I think for me, that's always been one of the things I love most about the archery industry. Yeah,
it's definitely a small community. You go to a shoot like Reading that we're going to go to in the next month, you'll see so many people that sometimes you only see them once a year. Sometimes it'll just be the next event you get to see them at. Plan dinners, plan get-togethers, talk about how things are going, watch people grow old like I have. And you got to remember, I bought the shop when I was 27. I'm heading on 52 now, guys. My son is 22. He's within 5 years of him being the same age. He's at a distinct advantage. He had a crib in the shop because he was born after I had bought the shop.
Right, he knows.
So he knows the ins and outs of everything. He's learning the backside of the business. But as far as on the front side of the counter, he has been able to do that since he was 12. Of course, we didn't, we didn't put him to work, but he could sell anything because he loves it so much. So he knows what he likes, he knows what he doesn't. He can explain the differences between them. And if he was on a budget, he can tell you A, B, and C. This is the order I would choose them depending on what you have to spend. So he's really good at that. And I guess that's where I'm going with it is, we'll shift gears to that a little bit. He's running our Vancouver store now. We have Troutdale, Oregon. That's about 25 minutes south of that in Oregon, and near it's
on the way out the gorge, out the 84, on your way out to like Multnomah Falls area.
Yeah. Nick runs that shop. He's done a great job of doing that too. That shop's got a ton of potential that it's still yet to unleash. We're just trying to market a little bit better across the board because we've never really been able to put the time and the finances towards the marketing side. Then we have one in Battleground, Washington. It's in the same county as our Vancouver store, but it's up towards the country more, so it helps out the people from having to drive 40 extra minutes into town to get the same stuff they can get from the Battleground location. Smaller community, smaller shop, but it's still got a small range in there too. Then up in Lacey, which is just north of Olympia, Washington, Ryan runs that store. It's our largest of them all. It's 9,000 square feet with a huge indoor range and a huge pro shop. That whole crew does a great up there, and it is definitely, we're glad we're there. It's virtually untapped as well for us as far as what we can provide for customers. So I don't want to get too much into our shops because that's not what it's about. But
so let me ask you back the question: what's your favorite thing about the industry?
My favorite thing would still be the people. That's why I keep doing what I'm doing. It's definitely not the pay because as business owners, the more we work, the less we make. And everybody knows how that works that owns a business. So it's the hours and hours. So we're not working right now, but we're working, right? Is this work though? Because we wanted to do it. It's something that we could be sitting watching TV, or we could be on the river fishing or something too, but we choose to do this because we love it. Now, does it wear us out? Sometimes it does. I mean, let's be honest. If you do it 60 hours a week, it's tough. But we look at the end game. The end game is having the lifestyle that we have now and watching the sport grow and watching people that are getting into it and that next generation of archers grow into it for a sport that in the West could easily die off if the politicians had their way. We can't get it, the further west you go, and we can't hardly get it into the school programs, not many. Charter schools are different, any private school, any homeschool, those are different, but try to get it into the public school system in Portland. It's not going to happen. Try to get it in Clark County, Washington, which is just north of Portland, but in Washington State. Not going to happen. The districts won't allow it to happen because it's a weapon, and they have taught the fear of that into their culture, and it drives people out of it. And I know that's one of my pet peeves as well. Right, yeah. As we segue into that, but so how have we combated that? We've created our own programs. One of ours is called a Knock Above program. So it's not affiliated with anyone. It's just something internally we did because between JOAD and S3DA and all those other programs, it's so hard to get them started because the administrations of the school boards have so many restrictions, especially since COVID, on all these mandates and stuff that we can't adhere to.
Well,
so
and every organization is a little bit different, and we just didn't have the following per se for each individual organization. Our communities just wanted to learn to shoot, and then they would kind of like dive in more specifically to their specific genre or their JOAD and the S3DA, it's just
huge.
not even.
It's not on the radar in Washington.
Yeah, at least it wasn't where we were.
Yeah, where we were, it's not even on the radar. But here in Idaho, where we're at currently, it's huge. So,
awesome.
and it has to do with the culture that's been around the politics. And so, since S3DA is a focus on hunting and a focus on shooting 3D animals in tournaments, that's near impossible to get parents on the West Coast to sign up for unless they're pretty conservative. You know, some don't care, but most that don't want them shooting animals. I mean, we've been asked to take down some of our mounts in our shop so little Johnny can come and shoot. And, you know, taking down 20 or 30 elk mounts and deer mounts is kind of ridiculous that you would teach that culture to your child, but the industry would not exist without that culture involved. That's what is kind of crazy to me. So if you're going to teach anything, if you're going to teach karate, it's not just, karate wasn't developed to have a pastime.
Yeah.
It was developed as a
self-defense.
Self-defense.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on what culture you're brought up in, and we don't mean to offend anyone. We're just telling it as it is and what we think. So.
Right, and I mean, to go with that, you know, it's like, you're a hunter.
Right.
I am not a hunter. I love that he goes out and hunts. I couldn't do it. Maybe if my life depended on it, I might be able to. I don't know, but I just love, you know, shooting, you know, a bow, but I'm not offended by, you know, shooting paper targets or 3D foam animals or whatever the case is, because there is a need and a desire for hunting. You know, I mean, that is, but just like you said, we're not here to offend anyone or what their, you know, your political view is on hunting, but just know, you know, we can support either
I'm
way.
a hunter, grew up that way.
Hopefully you can respect, you know, other people's opinions as well as far as that goes. So.
And we certainly, like in our shops, we don't try to offend anyone. If they're not a hunter, we respect that 1,000,000%. At the same time, we expect that same reciprocation of respect what we believe in also. So, and as long as two different types of mentality can come together with that, everything will usually work out. It's just usually when one wants to force the other on the other person. So that is a problem. So now, things I don't like in the industry, obviously that's not industry driven, that is culturally driven. What we were just talking about the not letting little Johnny come in if there's animals to see that have been shot. But let's talk about things that you don't like in the industry. Can you think of anything right now?
Well, I mean, I don't really know how to put words to it exactly.
You want me to get it started?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking like, you know, a little bit of, I don't know, the influencer, you know.
That's
like,
one part of mine,
Yeah, like the you know, what can you give me, what will you give me if I can, you know, get so many views of your product type thing. And then, you know, and you do see some that are loyal for a long time to a certain product, but you also see those that then kind of turn and then, like you said, a couple years later, they're on to something different, and now it's the new greatest thing. And I get that, you know, I mean, that's why we don't focus specifically on one specific product. But I don't know, I just wish there was more investment from the manufacturer level.
That's
on
my
the pro
burden,
shop.
right? I wish there was more vetting from the manufacturers before they got in bed with these influencers, because a lot of times the influencers start out telling them what they can do for the manufacturer, saying, I've got 100,000 views a month and I've got this and I can bring this much. I can guarantee I'll up your sales, you know, 2 or 3% by year's end because I'm so good at what I do. And all they're doing is talking about a review of a bow or showing them shoot at a 3D target in the backyard.
Oh yeah, or the fact, like, they'll get, like, sometimes those influencers, this is a burn, sometimes those influencers get the product before a pro shop has even seen it.
That goes back to the manufacturer to me again.
Yeah.
Manufacturers have got in bed. It's like sleeping with the vampire, man. It's so they will get influencers products that we can't get on our shelves to get it to them a week before the launch so that they can review it and say how good it is and have all these videos ready to post. And well, what happens is those same reps and manufacturers should be putting those in the shop's hands. And if they can't get them to all, then the reps need to step up and they need to make videos that can be distributed throughout the industry of their, they should have this same responsibility we're trying to take on right now. Reps should be helping make the media because they're the expert for that manufacturer in the area and help distribute it out to all these shops that are busting their hump selling $50,000 worth of their bows a year or $50,000 worth of their sights a year instead of getting it to an influencer that is going to create their own in China and then start selling it consumer direct, which we see a lot too. So that's one of my burns. Sure. It's the influencers, but it's the relationship from the manufacturers to the influencers that has been put backwards. The efforts should be put into the pro shops unless they want to see shops shut down. And if you're a rep and you're manufacturing, you get to see this. I really hope that you take this note because you know if you've talked to me, I've said it to you. If you want to see the industry shut down and go to online only or go to box stores only, then just keep doing what you're doing because it's going to happen. And you're watching bills not get paid and shops shut down because they can't put out enough marketing and media to meet the need because they're a mom and pop shop. And since COVID, it's gotten worse. So the 4 or 5 employees they may have had are down to mom and pop again. And so it's tough because when are they going to take the time to sit behind the camera when they've worked for 12 hours that day trying to keep the job going? So that's my burn. It's all at the manufacturers and reps level that lets the influencers do what they want. If you want to be an influencer, for all means, be that. But I think in this industry, you should have to buy your stuff, break it, sell it, pop it, do it, anything you want, but without contract, just because you want to do it. And then see how that works. That's what we are doing is like, if we get something and we make a video about it, we didn't get it sent to us for free. We bought it. They didn't even know we were going to do a review on it. And we decided to do it or do a series of different videos so that we can show what the difference between one product is and the next. So as far as the manufacturers know, they have no idea why it's ordered. It's just ordered for a customer. Now, granted, we get one little, cherry on top. We get it at our cost instead of retail, right? So in this industry, if you know it, everything is between 20 and 40%. To go over 40% is very rare, and it's also on very small accessory style items. And then hopefully service makes up the difference. Right. So by the time you get a bow out the door,
$10 peep, and you made 43 points on it instead of.
So in our industry, ask any, everybody knows the margins anymore. So it's not secret. So if a bow margin starts out at 31%, by the time the service to get it set up and the extra tune that you might get or the second tune that you might get or the checkup that you might get and all the free range time that you get, by the time the shop gets it out the door, if they've made 18% on that bow, don't you feel like that price you paid was worth 18% to get that knowledge, especially if you're just getting into the sport versus getting it out of a box and not even knowing if it's set up right and them teaching you and coaching you along?
And that's the thing I think that's so disturbing is how many people, once they learn about a pro shop, recognize that their bow hasn't even been set up. Like it literally came out of the box and they've been shooting it the way it was
with
out
a temporary
of the box.
peak tie or something like that.
Yeah, and the draw length not being right or whatever the case may be. And it's not to say that all, big box stores do that. No. But it's certainly going to be more.
Well, they're focused on the middle 50%.
Yeah.
So they don't touch the 25% fringe on either side, whereas pro shops can cater to the entire percentage of archers. And the big bucks is in that middle 50% for the box stores. So, and that's not to defend, and we can't defend pro shops, even us. We make mistakes. We have made mistakes. We'll always stand by fixing those mistakes. But it's having open dialogue and conversation with our customers too. So when we're doing a setup, if we've recognized that something's not set up right, we'll always own it. We'll always make corrections, and we'll always try to make that right for the customer, as most shops will do. So
Absolutely.
You may have had a poor experience with a shop. Give them time, have an open dialogue, talk to them, and they'll typically make it right, because they don't want to lose you as a customer, but they don't want to get you out of the sport as well either. So that's what is key, is that open dialogue. Now, this goes back to the influencers. You get your first bow, you go home, you start shooting it, and you go watch a video about some dude telling you something on the internet, and all of a sudden, because he's got 400,000 views in 2 months, it must be the truth.
Right.
That isn't always the case, guys. You have to vet that out yourselves, and you have to see what's going to work. And now let's talk about the FOC thing.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, sometimes you got to read the comments, even though they
Well,
have 400,000 views. You might read the comments, and in the comments you'll see
some correction.
Yeah, maybe this isn't exactly the
Well,
way.
and sometimes it's tricky, because I was watching a very popular influencer in our industry today, and in 4 hours it had, like, I want to say 8,000 views in 4 hours. I was like, holy cow. And then I watched it, and it was only a 5-minute video, and I was like, oh. And what, and this is a trustworthy guy. He wasn't saying anything that was wrong. He was just not saying everything that should have been said, that could have been said in that same time frame. So,
in your opinion,
in my opinion, on
right.
why something has changed over the course of 20 years, as conventional limbs turned into parallel limbs, and as arrow lengths have changed because of the equipment has changed, so and that's all. So and everyone, all the comments I read were completely, I'm new to archery, I'm just getting into this, and this is where influencers are really great, because it helps guide somebody that in the generation we're in, they go, instead of going to the shop to get some answers, they go to the online to get some answers, right? Because they bought their bow somewhere else. They don't want to offend a shop, and you're not going to offend a shop. If you bring a bow in that you bought somewhere else, talk to that shop, not about you buying a bow somewhere else. Get to know them, get a rapport with them, and then they're going to treat you just like if you bought it from them to begin with. Now, they can't provide every service for free at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, I was kind of comparing it and thinking about it like, like a driving range for golf. You're not going to not go to a driving range and ask the pro there for help because you bought your clubs at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Right.
You're going to go there because that's where you need the practice, and then you're going to, most likely you're going to be out there on the driving range, and the pro is going to come by and maybe see some things that they would offer or suggest, or maybe, would help to allow you to play golf better.
But you need to be in person.
But you have to.
You can't do that back and forth through text conversations online.
Yeah, or show a video of me or whatever the case.
I think the in-person is very key. You get all the right angles, you get all the information, you get to know the people, you start to see how tight that community is, and then you start to grow in the sport, and then you start getting better as well, because you're making the changes that they've seen everyone else go through too, so they can say, oh, based off of this, try that. And that's what's important about being collectively together.
Yeah.
And so I'll be honest, we hate online stuff, specifically me. I don't have a personal social media account. I have it for business only. I don't like it, but I know it's necessary. I've known it for a decade, but I could not.
You were pretty resistant.
It's where do you
and
need, where's your time?
Yeah, you couldn't put time into it either, but.
Right, because you're training employees, you're training, you're teaching people the sport of archery in person. So do I spend an hour making a video, or spend an hour making, or teaching somebody archery? And that's kind of what I chose for that time frame. Now, with the time freeing up a little bit, it's allowing us to take on this. And
well, and I think the thing that's important is that you're going to have at the pro shop level, you're going to have people that, I mean, we watch different YouTube channels
Yeah.
and different things, and there's a lot of great information out there.
Right.
And so we're going to help point you into those right directions of those, you know, people that we would agree with maybe their techniques or their styles, or you know, where you could learn. And there are people, I mean, let's be honest, there are people who are more specified in this one specific genre of archery than maybe we are as a collective, right? So there is, you know, there is going to be people online that may in their genre be more specific or have a lot more experience in that specific genre, but we're familiar with them, and we're going to point you in that right direction.
I want to take an influencer that's out there that is a different style of influencer, Jake Kaminsky.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was thinking.
He was not an influencer. He was an Olympic archer, guys. And Olympic archers in the Olympics, in at least 2 different Olympics, 2 medal holders in 2 different Olympics. And so we go to him to learn more about barebow and to teach more about barebow and to learn it, because that's the genre that Megan does too. The difference is he didn't just have this whim that I'm going to start this online gig and try to fill my bank account. His money that he makes is just to grow the equipment and the things that he needs, kind of like what we're hoping is to try to get the right information out to you from a true expert, not some dude that can talk well to a manufacturer to get a whole bunch of stuff for nothing or to get a contract.
Yeah, he's exactly who I was thinking of.
Jay, I mean, he wouldn't know me from Adam, but I met him and he taught me a lot at the ATA show several years ago when we had this little shooting contest. And I happened to be his partner, so it was a pretty cool little event. And I picked his brain, you know, right there. So he's a different breed of influencer. We're not talking about the true pros, the influencers that are now the generation of shop owners that are coming up or younger than us.
Yep.
They're in their 20s and their 30s, and they already have this social media built into their DNA.
For sure.
So they're already knowing the market value of that. We want you to support them. So if you've got an influencer that has a brick and mortar pro shop, support them. Go to them. Don't go to a dude that just works out of his house. Let me say, I'm going to make a lot of influencers mad at me and get a bunch of hate comments. I guess I just don't care anymore, but support the ones that have an industry knowledge daily. They are in it every single day. It's not to make the new video or the new clip or the new clickbait. It's because they work in the industry every day and they see the 20 bows come in, and they're from all generations. They're from
1990 to.
I was in a shop here in Nampa.
I saw it yesterday.
All right, so I was in Endless Archery in Nampa, Idaho yesterday. And in the bow vise, they had a whitetail 2 that they were putting the new string on that the guy will not give it up. So he's shooting the whitetail 2, and that was like I think that bow was from like 1982 to 1986 or something like that. They inspected it, still safe to shoot. It'll still kill just like a brand new bow will. But my point is hand it to an influencer and he won't even know what it is, what year it came from, how to do it, what kind of string it has, if it has steel cables, what do you do? The only people that know that stuff have worked in the industry for decades, and they have brick and mortar shops typically.
And have been trained by individuals who have.
You're right. Yeah. So it's passed down from that generation to generation. So pick and choose your influencers wisely. I've got gray in my beard, so I lose some younger people just because of that. Whereas the guy that goes out and buys a bow and makes a whole bunch of videos may win on that argument on why he likes to shoot a certain bow. And he's probably not wrong. But it is impressive to me how no one cares that he doesn't know anything
about any other bow except for that bow.
Or I watch them shoot and they act like they're a pro archer and they're shooting a 3 or 4 inch group at 30 yards.
Sure.
And that could easily, with a little practice and training and influence, turn into a 2 inch group at 30 yards, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not to say that every
no.
single employee at a pro shop is the best archer
Right.
in the world, because
No, it's not the
certainly
case.
I know fundamentally what should be done better than I can execute it myself.
Right.
But
Well, and you could argue that for the influencers. They can tell somebody what to do better than they may execute it.
Sure.
Most football coaches can do the same thing.
Right.
Right? But that being said, trust the ones that are in it daily, the ones that are seeing everything, the ones that know how to do the right tunes, the ones that have seen the tune that you may be struggling with and why the groups are a little bit open, and how you could tune that a little better. I guess that's all I'm getting at for the shops. Find your shop supported, and then learn to trust them and have open conversations with them, and it'll be a lot easier for you to grow in the sport and become better.
Absolutely.
But there is this desire from the younger generation to just post all the time and post everything, because it's this fear of missing out, right? So if you're not posting how cool you are with your gear, you're just not cool, you know? So that's
I mean, I see the drive of, you know,
Right.
if you're somebody who's making decent money off of just posting videos, you
Yeah.
know, there is something that's awfully appealing, you know, to just get an income from posting videos. But I've also heard it's not as easy as they may make it look, right? So, so those that really can live off of influencing in that respect, you know, they have to put in some time, I guess.
Well, and that's why I like to go live, I'll be honest, because it shows you a little bit of who we are too, without cuts and clips. Now, you can't do that all the time,
Sure.
But I do like to do it because, one, I hate editing. And I don't do it, I have another guy do it, but I just hate it. I want you to see who we are. And then when you're putting something together that might need to be condensed down from an hour to 5 minutes, of course you have to cut and clip. We got guys, one of my guys does that. He's an awesome dude at doing it. So he's driving us in the right direction with it. But if I'm going out and shooting at 60 yards in the wind, I'm not going to show you the best shots. I'm going to show you all the shots.
Exactly.
So that's what's important. Or if we're testing something, we're not going to show you the best results just so we can say, see, this is why you should choose this, or this is why I went with this. It'll be because you get to see the whole results. And I think you'll see that in the next month or two coming up as we test some of these products and go from there. So now let's talk about the clubs. The clubs in the area, I know it's a big change again. The clubs in this area are pretty strong. Back in the day, in Idaho, the Fish and Game really got behind the clubs and helped get grant money and help push the clubs to get started. A lot of times providing either the land, and the clubs built the property or built the facilities, or support in some ways through grants. But they help drive them, and Idaho is recognizably different than Washington and Oregon when it comes to that. That's not to say that the Fish and Game isn't involved with it at all, because Fish and Game in Washington just put a archery range out at Vancouver Lake. If you don't know that, then that goes out to 100 yards, and they conversed with us for a little bit. But actually, who pushed and drove that project? Fish and Game gave approval, but it was the Vancouver Wildlife League. Mm-hmm. The Vancouver Wildlife League is a nonprofit that's there that wants people to go outside and enjoy pheasant hunting, archery, trap shooting, all kinds of different events around that area. So they push that event so hard to get that range built, and they just conferred with us because we're the archery experts in the area. So sure. We wanted to help them lay out the range right and safe and everything too. So that got done. So now there's a range out there that's fenced in, and hopefully you guys that are in the Vancouver, Washington area know about that now and take care of it. Chinook Archers is another local club in Clark County. They were from about, gosh, I'm not even going to guess the date, but it was in the late 60s, from 1960 something until about 10 years ago. They had a premier Northwest shooting range that was owned by multiple shareholders and 56 acres of property. And that property sold to be sold for condos and townhouses. And that was sad to see that go. And since then, Chinook has struggled to get property to shoot on. And now they've got a piece of land that had been donated to them by one of the past board members and one of the lifetime members there. So they have a spot to start shooting there. So we want to support them too. Move over to, and we're skipping 1 billion clubs here, guys, but we want to just talk about the importance of it. Move over to here to where we're at in Nampa, and they have Nampa Bow Chiefs. Those clubs, if done right, the shops and the clubs coexist. So club members usually get discounts at the pro shops. If the clubs are smart, they influence their club members to shop at pro shops instead of at box stores, because that's where they're gonna get the good equipment. And so if you want the great advice and great equipment, then keep those pro shops going. So if you're a club member and you're not supporting your local shop, think about what's gonna happen if that shop disappears. Are you gonna continue to shop online, or are you gonna have to drive further to go shoot indoors if you don't have an indoor facility? Think of how much further you're going to have to go to get to the next good spot. So that's what I think about when we were this has been in the back of my mind for years, is Archery Northwest is about that, getting in and supporting archery all through the Northwest. And there's great clubs all through the Northwest, and those clubs can feel like a good old boys club sometimes. And if it does, break that cycle, change those thoughts and feelings, because the next generation, you want that young archer to know that there's a shop near them they can go to get set up as they become 18, 19 years old. And if they're 14 to 18 years, that's only 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
doesn't take long, and they're buying their own equipment. And you want them to be able to get the right stuff from the right place. So that's what this conversation is about, really. And then just getting to know us, hopefully, too. So we'll see you around. If you're in the Northwest, leave a comment for us if you got a shop and you want us to come there. I know this sounds weird because we have pro shops ourselves. There's no hidden agenda. It's just we want to provide a service to celebrate your shop in whatever way you need. If you are trying to grow a league, or you're trying to grow a youth division, or you're trying to just get the word out about your shop, then we want to support that. So we can't do them all, but we'll certainly try to put you on the list and try to get to you. We just got a little bit more time to be able to travel and do that, as we are here now, and the shops for us are run by just awesome managers and crews. So that's what we're looking for, is that hope that we can go and make a commercial for you, and you can put it on your Facebook and your Instagram, and we can show these manufacturers that, holy crap, I've got a rep that represents 22 shops in my area, or in his area. Why can't he make one commercial and distribute that out and have an expert opinion from the manufacturer's rep? Doesn't that make sense? The manufacturers get to see the product before the reps. The reps get to see the products before the influencers. So wouldn't you want to know all the ins and outs about it from the rep, the guy that's trained in it, versus just shipped in a box to some dude and he unboxes it on video and says, oh, this is great, because he just got it for free. Of course it's great. So we just don't want to get in that game. We want to buy what we want to buy. We want to get the word out to you about new products coming out that may be worth it. We want you in our shops. We want you in other shops, and we want to share that love for the sport for you, and you supporting us is providing our lifestyle too. So we appreciate that in all ways, and all pro shops do, even though it's a struggle sometimes. We still would rather make less and be happy in what we do. So, Megan, you got anything to add?
I don't think so today. We just look forward to seeing people, and then, after we get back from Reading, we've got about a month down, and then we're going to be doing, various mountain challenges and other safaris throughout the Northwest throughout the summer. So come find us,
Yep.
hit us up in the comments, and let us figure out how we can support you and your shops and your clubs.
Yep. And right now, just to finish too, we're talking about Archery World along with Archery Northwest because we're the owners of both. So it's archeryworld.net if you want to come and see us. But when we're talking and representing another shop through Archery World Northwest or through Archery Northwest, we will talk about their goals, their website, their influence, and the things they want as if it was for them, a commercial built for them. So don't mistake that. It might be us or someone that we film talking about that. So you're going to see a lot of different shops in the next year pop up that you might not have known about, and we want you to go investigate them. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching, and then we'll sign off.